Good morning. This is the Board of the Chiropractic Examiners. This meeting is being held by teleconference under the Government Code Section 11133. The date is December 16th, 2021. The time is 9 o'clock. Participants, the members of the public that are listening and would like to provide public comment by telephone will be limited to 1 to 2 minutes unless at the discretion of the board circumstances require otherwise. Members of the public will not be allowed to or permitted to yield their allotted time to other members of the public to make comments. We ask that those who have previously spoken on a matter to allow those who have not spoken previously the opportunity first to speak. The board's paramount responsibility is to protect the health, welfare, and safety of the public through licensure, education, and enforcement in chiropractic care. Please be aware this meeting is being audio recorded. Please turn off or silence all your cell phones. We will now take the roll for the board. Dr. Paris, would you kindly take the roll?
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you. Dr. Dion McLean.
Present.
I'm Dr. David Paris, present. Dr. Lawrence Adams.
Present.
Dr. Pamela Daniels.
Present.
Ms. Jeanette Nunez Villar Cruz.
Present.
Mr. Raphael Sweet.
Present.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Dr. Paris, for that, and thank all the board members for their attendance here today. At this time, we'd like to move on to agenda item number 2, and as such, we will begin the hearing portion, and I would like to turn it over to the ALJ, the Honorable Jessica. Sorry, I had it here.
Jessica Wall.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. And Dr. McLean, would you prefer me to address you as Dr. McLean or Chair McLean?
Either is fine.
Okay. And when we do questioning by the board members, would you like to poll them or should I?
You can poll them if you would, please.
Thank you. And would you like to go through the list in the order that they are on the slide?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So we are here today to review 3 petitions for reinstatement of revoked license. This matter is being heard before the California Board of Chiropractic Examiners, Department of Consumer Affairs. Well, all members of the board have previously identified themselves for the record, and a quorum of the board is present. My name is Jessica Wall. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings, and I've been assigned to preside over this matter. We will begin with the first case on the list, in the matter of the petition for reinstatement filed by Reza Ali Alakbar, agency case number AC 2007-592, OAH case number 2021110528. May I please take the appearance of the Deputy Attorney General?
Good morning, Judge. Seth Curtis from the Office of the Attorney General, representing the people of the state of California, appearing this morning pursuant to Government Code Section 11522.
Excuse me, this is the moderator. I wanted to mention that we do not yet have a court reporter identified.
Oh,
We do have a member of the audience, the attendees, who might be that person. I'd like to go ahead and verify if that's all right with you.
yes, please do.
Okay.
Judge Wall.
Yes.
This is Dr. Lawrence Adams. I just wanted to make you aware. I'm not really sure when the appropriate time to do this. I think it's probably before we hear from the petitioner. I just wanted to disclose that I am a teacher of continuing education, and the petitioner, Mr. Ali Alikbar, had attended one of my CE courses in May of this year, May 29th, 2021. It was via video conferencing. I have no recollection of him or interacting with him during that time. And I feel like that's important for me to disclose as I reviewed the petition this past couple days.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. And once we confirm that we are being transcribed by a court reporter, I may ask you to repeat that on the record and confirm your ability to be fair and impartial in this adjudication.
Thank you, Judge Wall. I appreciate that.
And this is the moderator. I'm calling user 3. I've sent you a request to unmute your microphone. If you are the court reporter or one of the petitioners, you can click unmute me and let me know. I see you're unmuted. Court reporter, wonderful. Thank you very much. I'm going to make you a panelist so you can mute and unmute yourself at will. And as far as I know, we do not have the first petitioner, Reza Ali Akbar, in attendance yet, but we do have the second petitioner if you'd like to move forward with that.
Okay, before we do, I would like to get the court reporter's name. Could the court reporter please identify themselves?
Good morning, Judge Wall. This is Mark Patterson.
Good morning, Mr. Patterson. I thought it might be you. Okay.
This is a late assignment for me. I apologize. I'm unprepared at the moment. I have the 3 names and some the case numbers, but I don't have the board members' names and a seating chart of I don't even know how to speak. I'm all choked up.
Okay. Well, we are
I
then
need a
going
signature.
to rewind a little bit, and we're going to go back because it's very important that everything we do today, we make an accurate record of. So we will
Would it be possible?
start again when you are ready, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you. I'm wondering if it would probably be advantageous for me to click on the link so I can see you rather than just do it by telephone.
It generally is, I believe, more efficient
gonna
to
be
be
easier.
able to see. So if you are able to do that, that would be advantageous.
Okay, let me get that set up.
Okay.
Just 1 minute.
All right. And I believe Ms. Fisher, you said that the petitioner in the first matter is not present.
Apparently, the attorney for the first petitioner is present, so they may be in the same room. Let me go
Okay.
ahead and confirm that. Just one moment. And Mr. Hassan, is that true that you are?
Yeah, good morning, panelists. My name is Ray Mordecai Hassan, and I represent
Uh-oh, did I drop off or?
No, I'm sorry.
I think
Leave.
Judge, this is Seth Curtis from the Attorney General's office. I'm gonna log out and log back in as I'm having a problem with the system right now.
Okay. Well,
I'll be right back.
we are all having some technical challenges, which is not uncommon in the age of COVID. So let's all have patience, and we will do the best we can to get things moving once we have all of the necessary folks present and able to participate.
Thank you for your patience, Judge. And I do believe, Ray Hassan, you are unmuted again. You may continue your statement if you have your client with you.
yes, Moderator Fisher. I have Mr. Ali Akbar with me right now, so he's here. Once I make some type of statement, he will then, if it's the proper decorum, he will then give his thoughts on the hearing, and then will be available for questions. So yes, he is present with me.
Okay, that is helpful to know. Thank you, Mr. Hassan. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
My name is Hassan.
Hassan. Okay.
Given this age, I've been known by a lot of different names.
Well,
Hassan or Hassan.
I will
Hassan
do
or
my
Hassan.
best to get
No
everyone's
worries.
names correctly. And is it Mr. or Dr.? And I think you pronounced it Ali Akbar?
Yeah, Ali Akbar is correct.
Okay.
And by the way, Madam Fisher, Madam Moderator, it's my understanding that since he does not have a license, that it's would be a better procedure to call him Mr. Akbar than Doctor at the present moment. That's what I've been told.
Understood. Different boards have had different preferences, so I like to check. And let me check in with Mr. Patterson. How are we doing, Mr. Patterson?
Logging in on my second computer so I can get a visual.
Okay. Please let us know
apologize.
when you are able to do that.
I will. Thank you.
And it appears that the court reporter is, and actually, I think it's the DAG, I'm sorry, is trying to talk, but I'm just hearing static.
I think we might be hearing Mr. Patterson attempting to log on to his computer. I'm not sure if we see Mr. Curtis. Oh, no, Mr. Curtis is back. Okay.
Yes, and sometimes we do hear background noise, and it's sometimes easier simply not to mute someone because they have trouble unmuting again. So please bear with us. And for members of the public, we are just getting some technical issues resolved. We will begin or continue the meeting in one moment. Thank you for your patience.
How are we doing, Mr. Patterson? Do we have any updates?
I am here to join the event.
Have you been able to log on to your computer?
But can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Have you been
Okay, I wasn't
able
sure
to
if you
log on to WebEx?
I'm punching in the CAPTCHA, whatever it is that, with the letters that you verify who you are, I guess.
Okay.
Yes. Join. One moment. Join event. Goodness. Here we go.
All right. I see you present as a user, Mr. Patterson.
Wonderful.
Will you maintain your audio connection via telephone?
Yes, this seems to be a fair connection. Earlier when you were speaking, it was cutting in and out. I was a little concerned.
Well, hopefully the connection will be strong on my end. And with that, I do think that we have the necessary individuals present, and I will go back to something I said a little bit earlier, and we can begin. Are you ready to go, Mr.
Your Honor?
Patterson? Yes.
I'm not ready, Your Honor.
Okay.
I need a seating chart. I just need to know the names of the people before they go around the table.
Oh, okay. So
I need a visual here.
I was going to call them to have them identify themselves for the record. Would you like to do it before we go on the record?
Could we, I handwrite it down on a piece of paper so I have a visual to look down on. It's the way I've been doing it for 20 some odd years, so.
Okay,
Seems to
because I don't
work.
know if we can do a seating chart, seeing as we are virtual, so we're not around a table, but we can go through the list of board members.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
Your
the
Honor.
list of board.
Excuse
Be
me, I'm
fine.
sorry. This is Robert Pulio, the board's executive officer. I can have somebody email the names of the board members to the court reporter if he'd like to give us his email address.
That would work. I think at this point it would be just as easy if I just handwrite it really quickly, and then it
Okay.
enables me to make designation. Would you just like to go have the people, the board members state their name?
Okay, I will go down the list that I have and I'll ask them to state their name and they can spell it if you request. Does that sound okay?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, we will start with our chair, Dr. McLean.
Dr. Dion McLean.
Okay.
Maybe I should ask for a spelling so I can
Okay.
not be
Certainly.
guessing.
First name Dionne, last name MC, capital CLAIN.
Thank you.
And Mr. Patterson, if you look, the slide actually has the names of the board members present listed. So that might be faster than me calling them, though I will ask them to identify themselves on the record and state that we have a quorum.
I see a David Paris and a call-in user and Dr.
Okay.
Dion McLean and you. I see 3 people.
So you don't see a slide?
Your Honor, I don't. I see a call-in user and they're shifting around. They're moving. You're on the
Okay.
far left. There's a telephone. There's Mr. Well, he just moved. Now there's another gentleman.
So I think
They're
this
flashing
is
around.
your layout. So Mr. Patterson, it will be, if you are able to, right now, I think if you go to the layout, it should enable you to see the slide. But just to keep things moving, we will do it orally just so we can get started this morning. So
I apologize, Your Honor.
we've had our chair, Dr. McLean, identify herself. We'll next go to our vice chair, Dr. Paris. Could you please state and spell your name for our court reporter?
David Paris, David Paris.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Paris. We next move to Ms. Cruz.
Jeanette Cruz, Janette, last name Cruz, Cruz.
Thank you, Ms. Cruz. We next move to Dr. Adams.
Lawrence Adams, Laurence Adams.
All right, let's next move to Dr. Daniels.
Dr. Pamela Daniels, Pamela, last name Daniels.
Thank you, Dr. Daniels. Next, we move to Mr. Sweet.
Raphael Sweet, Rafael, Sweet, Sweet.
Thank you, Your Honor,
Okay.
and panel members.
So those
moment.
are our board members today. Is there anything else you need, Mr. Patterson, before we begin?
I just need to enter a couple strokes into my machine, and I should be ready to go.
Okay.
Just bear with me. I apologize. Doing what I can here. Okay, I think that'll do, Your Honor. If I could just ask people to identify themselves when they speak, that will probably ensure a clear record.
Okay. All right. Well, this is ALJ Wall speaking, and we are on the record here today. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. If the call user number 2 could mute for this portion, I think that would help. We are on the record here today to review 3 petitions for reinstatement of revoked license. This matter is being heard before the Board of Chiropractic Examiners, Department of Consumer Affairs, State of California. Will all the board members please identify themselves for the record? Dr. McLean.
Dr. Dion McLean, chairperson.
Dr. Paris.
Dr. David Paris, Vice Chair.
Ms. Cruz.
Jeanette Cruz.
Dr. Adams.
Dr. Lawrence Adams.
Dr. Daniels.
Dr. Pamela Daniels.
And Mr. Sweet.
Raphael Sweet.
Thank you. A quorum of the board is present. My name is Jessica Wall. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings assigned to preside over this matter. The first matter we will hear today is the matter of the petition for reinstatement filed by Reza Ali Akbar, agency case number AC 2007-592, OAH case number 202111058. May I please take the appearance of the Deputy Attorney General?
Good morning, board. Good morning, Judge. Seth Curtis from the Office of the Attorney General, appearing pursuant to Government Code Section 11522 to assist in the fact-finding role.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. And I believe Mr. Ali Akbar is represented by counsel. So could Mr. Hassan please state his appearance on the record?
I have requested that he unmute his microphone.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher.
Good morning, Your Honor, panel. My name is Ray Mordecai Hassan, and I have the the privilege of representing Mr. Ali Akbar, who's seated next to me.
Okay.
Your Honor. Your Honor, may I get a spelling of that name? It's very unfamiliar.
Okay, so can I first get petitioner's counsel to state and spell his name for the court reporter?
Yeah. My middle name is, my first name is Ray, R-E-Y. My middle name is Mordecai, M-O-R-D-E-C-A-I. And my last name is Hassan, H-A-S-S-A-N.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan. And can I please get the petitioner to state and spell his name for the court reporter?
My name is Reza Ali Akbar, Reza, R-E-Z-A. Last name Ali Akbar, A-L-I-A-K-B-A-R.
Thank you, Mr. Ali Akbar. Okay, so at this point, as you are represented by counsel, I won't go through the full pro se instructions, but I will move on to Mr. Curtis presenting the petition summary. Thank you.
Your Honor, this is
Yeah.
Dr. Adams once again. Is this the appropriate time for me to state my disclosure?
Thank you, Dr. Adams. Thank you for reminding me about that. Yes, if you could please
problem.
restate what you mentioned when we were off the record about what you would like to disclose in this matter.
Thank you. In reviewing the petitioners for today's proceedings, I noted that on May 29th, 2021, that the petitioner, Dr. Ali Akbar, attended a continuing education course I taught at that time. I don't recall any specific interaction with Mr. Ali Akbar, is via video conferencing. And I just think that's important for me to state at the beginning of the proceeding. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Adams. And I would just like you to state on the record whether you believe that you can be fair and impartial in this matter.
I do believe I can be fair and impartial in this matter.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. Okay, so we now move to Mr. Curtis to present the petition summary.
Thank you, Judge. I would ask to first mark for identification and offer into evidence the petition packet and supporting documents that were submitted for Mr. Ali Akbar. The petition packet consists of bait stamp pages number 1 through 103, along with a declaration of service and notice of hearing. The petition packet consists of a statement submitted by petitioner or someone on his behalf, a letter of volunteer services, approximately 78 pages of CLE continuing education certificates, along with the prior disciplinary documents in board case number 2007-592 and the prior decision on his petition for reinstatement, which was heard and had an effective date of May 5, 2019.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Let me just check with petitioner's counsel. Mr. Hassan, do you have any objection to admission of the petition packet as Exhibit 1 in this matter?
No.
Okay. The petition packet is admitted into evidence.
Thank you, Judge. By way of background, the board had issued chiropractic license number DC 24268 to the petitioner in this case on or about September 6 of 1996. On May 1st of 2008, approximately 12 years later, petitioner's chiropractic license was revoked for a period of at least 10 years following the entry of a default decision and order. The underlying accusation had alleged that the respondent at that time was convicted of crimes substantially related to the qualifications, functions, or duties of a chiropractor, and that the acts involved moral turpitude and dishonesty, that he engaged in unprofessional conduct by fraudulent billing and knowingly making or signing documents relating to the practice of chiropractic care, which falsely represented the existence or non-existence of facts. And that he participated in acts of fraud or misrepresentation and violated or attempted to violate provisions of the Chiropractic Act or the regulations. The underlying offenses alleged in the accusation involved respondent's conviction for 2 felony counts, Penal Code Section 550, Parent B, Parent 1, for conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, and that it was alleged that respondent and his co-conspirators had facilitated the false reporting of staged automobile accidents, and that the parties would then make false insurance claims for injuries that required chiropractic care. Respondent and his co-conspirators knowingly provided bills to the insurers for services which were not rendered, and that between 2004 and 2005, petitioner in this case, back then as respondent, submitted approximately 100 fraudulent claims for chiropractic care to Liberty Mutual, 21st Century Insurance, and Progressive Insurance. As a result of his no contest plea to the criminal matter, the Alameda County Superior Court placed petitioner at that point on 5 years probation, ordered him to serve 6 months in jail, to pay restitution of more than $20,000. As part of the plea, he agreed to surrender his chiropractic license and not contest any action taken by the board against his license. Petitioner's conviction was set aside and vacated back in 2014. Following that, petitioner had previously requested reinstatement on or about May 7 of 2018. That petition was heard and denied with an effective date of May 5, 2019. And because the burden is on petitioner, I will turn it over to him for presentation of his case, and then I will ask some follow-up questions.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Curtis. So we now move to Mr. Hassan to present the petitioner's case.
Well, thank you, Your Honor, and members of the board. What I intend to do is to outline what I believe that you would like to hear. That is the words from Mr. Ali Akbar's mouth, or psyche, if you will, as to his rehabilitation. I'm not really sure whether or not the panel wishes the procedure to go as what we call in civil proceeding as a trial de novo, or is this like a petition for reconsideration? I'd like to kind of, with permission of the Attorney General, the officiating officer in this matter, I'd like to kind of take a neutral, maybe walk a middle path so we don't spend a lot of time rehashing what's already been relitigated, if that's okay.
Mr. Hassan, I just want to let you know this is not being considered as a petition for reconsideration. This is considered as a petition for reinstatement of revoked license. That is what we are here today. The facts in the prior orders are considered to be true. So if that makes your presentation any more clear.
Okay. Okay. I don't like to be long-winded. I'm generally pretty short-winded in terms of my presentations. Thank you for the petition packet. I've gone through it. In terms of the underlying matter here, the fraud and the fraudulent billing and the 100 counts, Mr. Akbar actually served 45 days in jail. The main culprit in this matter wind up serving 8 years. So basically, he pled to 2 counts. Those counts were wobblers. That means that they were soft felonies, and they were subsequently reduced to misdemeanors. And it was a no contest plea. Since then, he has gone through psychological and emotional torment to get some stability and understanding of his life and what he's done. And I'm going to have him make a present those rehabilitations.
Excuse me a moment.
Okay, I'm going to stop you, Mr. Hassan. I believe our court reporter is having difficulty hearing you, and I am as well. If it would be possible for you to speak slowly, loudly, and clearly into your microphone and minimize all other noises, that would be helpful.
Okay, I apologize.
Okay. So please repeat what you last stated because I don't believe the record includes it.
Would the court reporter be kind enough to just read back the last sentence, please?
Yes. One moment, please. Let me page up. It broke up a little, and he has done, and I'm going to have him make an. Did that get you there?
Okay. Let me let me restart the engine here.
Yeah.
Okay. May I proceed?
You may.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So he has the two wobblers. He spent 45 days. The main culprit in this matter spent 8 years. He was a younger man and an unwiser man then, and he's gone. He will make presentations that he's gone through some substantial changes, as reflected in the packet. There, he's gone to he's had about 300 hours of chiropractic courses. I noticed in the prior hearing, the main issue with the board and why he wasn't reinstated was that they were not satisfied. The board at that time was not satisfied for a couple of reasons, that they didn't feel that there were adequate rehabilitation measures, or perhaps Mr. Akbar did not come to grips with what the word rehabilitation means. And when he makes his presentation to you, he will discuss the rehabilitation that he's gone through, and he will tell you what the rehabilitation is. I think after the board hears it, they will conclude that there is a lot of there is transformation of character here. So he's paid his. I don't mean to make a closing statement. It's not. This is an opening remarks as to what I expect that what he will tell you, and of course. He will be open to any kinds of questions, and he is going to lay bare his soul to this panel and be very forthcoming with and be very truthful. He will discuss what he has done since he has lost his license. He's had several types of employments. His consciousness is expanded because of it. He will explain to you that he now has an understanding of ethical issues that were not as clear to him before as they are now. He will tell you that he's had to grapple with his soul in terms of greed and moral issues like that, and he has gone through transformation. He will explain that transformation to you. So that's what he's going to be doing to explain the rehabilitation. As I mentioned before, so much of the rehabilitation is in the packet there that you've kindly provided. He has gone through over 300 hours of chiropractic classes. He's gone to Mexico numerous times and he's done chiropractic work there. He has a love of his occupation that he feels would be of value to the community. And he understands now that he's under authority and that he has to play by the rules, and you have to do it better once you've gone through what he's gone through. He understands that he has to do it better than anyone else, and he intends to do that. So now, without further ado, if you will, I present to you Mr. Akbar. I don't know if you want to, what I'm going to have him do is explain the rehabilitative process that he has gone through, and after that, you're certainly welcome to provide any type of questions that you may have. So, Mr. Akbar, would you like to
I'm going to stop you. Mr. Hassan, before Mr. Ali Akbar testifies, I need to swear him in so that we can consider his testimony as evidence. So you're on the phone, but I can't see you. But if you could please raise your right hand, Mr. Ali Akbar.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you will provide in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, you may continue, Mr. Hassan.
So, Mr. Akbar, since the last hearing, you had a hearing before in 2019. You've already paid your dues, if you will, to the society by having a revocation for 10 years. Can you tell this panel and the court and the court, if you will, what you have done? First of all, what is your understanding of rehabilitation? What does that mean to you?
I had to search from within my soul to understand what needed to be rehabilitated and look within myself. And I realized that I didn't have the inability, I had the inability of understanding and the workings of the system. I realized that I was unethical, and I realized that I was greedy. And having realized those, and being convicted of what I was convicted of, and the pains that I went through, losing my license, losing my, I got divorced. I haven't seen my kids since 2010. It's been a humbling experience, and I had to ask myself why, and realizing that I needed transformation. So, and the transformation and the rehabilitative procedures that I've taken was when I went and sought psychotherapy with Ann Jury, and after seeking those therapies, I I couldn't get a job anywhere because of my felony count. So once the felonies were dismissed, and I worked at restaurants where there was a lot of money involved, and so the ethics there, that everything, all the money, the thing around all that money, and having to be responsible for that money for the restaurants was very humbling, and making sure that everything was perfect. I also taking care of my parents was very humbling. My mom is a cancer survivor. She had basal cell carcinoma. She was under the knife for 7 to 8 hours. My dad has COPD, asthma, kidney failure. Taking care of my dad was I still take care of him. I live with my dad. I have to take care of him. So that's very humbling.
Let me just stop you here. In terms of can you hear me? In terms of the therapy that you received, you've gone to the chiropractic classes, right? 300 hours.
Correct.
And you actually went to Mexico and did chiropractic care. Is that right?
I did.
Okay. Now, in terms of the therapy, Ann Jury is a psychotherapist, right?
Correct.
And she's a deeply religious woman, as I recall, right?
Correct.
And can you tell the panel and board?
Okay, 1 second. Let me confirm what I believe Mr. Patterson said. Mr. Patterson, did you ask them to slow down the testimony and questions?
Oh, okay.
Yes, I did. It's breaking up again.
Okay. Well, as has been mentioned, we're living in an era of technical odds. I don't think I've had a Zoom or a phone call with panelists in which there were technical issues. I will attempt to slow both myself and Mr. Akbar down to make our communication clearer, and I'll do my best. And if there's any miscue or any words that you don't understand, please feel free to let us know. So let me restart the question. Mr. Akbar.
Slowly, please.
Okay. Mr. Akbar. Now, am I correct that Ann Jury is a psychotherapist?
Correct.
And am I correct that Ann Jury is a deeply religious woman?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, she's a former nun. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, you did several sessions of therapy with her. Is that correct?
Yes.
And they were in-depth psychic therapy. Is that right?
Correct.
And the therapy consisted of
what type of therapy? They were in-depth, some type of therapy.
In-depth psychotherapy. In-depth psychotherapy. And
Thank
the
you.
in-depth, oh, you're welcome. Thank you. And the in-depth psychotherapy consisted of prayer. Is that right?
Yes.
And in those prayers, if I can take liberty with the Almighty, if you will, in those prayers, you offered up your sins and your misdoings. Is that right?
Correct.
And jury and you prayed together for healing. Is that right?
Correct.
Pardon me. And jurors, and you broke up again.
And jury, Juri. Okay. And you and jury agreed that the greed and the lack of respect for authority would be quelched and come to light. Is that right?
Yes.
And as a result of that, you became a broken man. Is that correct?
Yes.
You understood how horrible you were with your greed. Is that right?
Yes.
And you understood your lack of respect and authority, not only to this panel and to the noble profession you represented, but really to the community at large. Is that right?
Correct.
And as a result of that, over a period of time, you had jobs that do not require chiropractic skills. You've worked in restaurants as managers, administering people. You dealt with large sums of money, and you've learned about other aspects of life. Is that correct?
Yes.
And as a result of that, you've also learned that you have a noble profession that is noblesse oblige. You have a public calling to be, and I hate to say it like this, but really better than if you're selling shoes or something like that. If you sell shoes, you can put the shoes back and get another pair of shoes. But if you deal with the human being at an intimate level, that you deal with touching them and adjusting them and giving them massages and electrical therapy and the like, you have a higher calling to treat that individual with dignity. Is that right?
Yes.
And what does dignity mean to you?
Honoring
each individual person. Is that right?
Correct.
And you not only honor each individual person, but you also honor your profession, right?
Yes, sir.
And can you represent to this board that you will, with all the power within you, with God's help, not do anything to dishonor your profession?
Yes.
So, if you've, I hate to ask the members of this board to do something that I asked them to do that would hurt my client, but I have to tell you, if you were given permission to have your license back, how do you feel about being proctored?
I'm fine with it.
You're fine with being proctored, and you're fine with continuing education. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if this board wanted you to go to a board-certified psychiatrist and have more psychotherapy, would you be willing to do that?
Yes.
You don't want to do that, but you would, right?
I would.
Okay. So I think that's pretty much really, I think that pretty much spells out what his rehabilitation has been. It's been through psychotherapy and prayer. It's been through tons of 300 hours. It's been working in a hospital in Mexico as a chiropractor, and it's been he's carried his cross through all this, and from what I can see. I don't like crybabies. I never have, and I don't think I've done enough of that in my youth. And the fact that you take care of your parents and that they're sick should probably have little sway, but I think it's noble to do that. But we don't intend to play on anybody's sympathy. We're here because we live in a society that gives people a second chance once they prove that they deserve a second chance. And I've been through a few administrative hearings, and I like them because they're not as structured as going to a court of law where, sit down, stand up, and the rules are rules are more fluid. So I represent that, Mr. You have gone through these changes, and you're willing to abide by those changes. He's come to, I think the evidence shows that he's come to grips with his internal psyche, and that he's come to grips with his psyche, if you will, at a deep level. And that really, you know, I'm a professional, and whatever that, I think I know what that means. And if I can go on, you know, there were originally 5 professions, and if someone wants to cut me off, I get it. And those 5 professions were medicine, law, the clergy, the money changers, and the ladies of the night, the prostitutes. And the way history laid it out, there were 3 noble professions: medicine, law, and clergy. And it wasn't until about the 18th century that money got involved, and the people went into those, money got involved in a deep way. The reason people went into the medicine, the law, and the clergy, not because they wanted to do it for money. That they weren't supposed to do it for money, really. They were supposed to do it because out of noblesse oblige. They were to do it because they had what we call a calling. Unfortunately, we live in a society in the whole world where, you know, everybody's in it for the do-re-mi. But that's the way it started. Well, once money got involved with the clergy, they got corrupt. The doctors, I don't have to tell you, that's why we're here. They got corrupt. And the lawyers, I can tell you as a lawyer, they surely got corrupt. So the money got involved, and what was once noble became ignoble. And I think the evidence shows that Mr. Akbar has come to grips with that. You're not going to let money get in the way of what's right and honorable, are you, Mr. Akbar?
Never again.
So he's learned. You have a gift from God. You're a classical guitar player, right?
Yes.
And he's actually probably ranked in the world. I've heard him play. It's phenomenal. He's learned from classical people around the world. It's the love of his life. And remember, we were just going over a piece by Bach, and I can tell you, he understands that when if he ever were, God forbid, if he were ever to pollute himself with dishonesty or things that are ignoble, it would actually hurt him in his passion, which is classical guitar. So I plead with this board that you have an opportunity to reinstate Mr. Akbar and to give him an opportunity to exercise the good gifts that God has given him. Any questions? We're open to those. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hassan. And I'm interpreting the last part of what you said as a closing remark because it appeared to be more argument than evidence. Is that your understanding?
That's exactly right.
Okay, just checking. So before we move on to questions, I want to confirm with our board chair the order that she would like them in. So Dr. McLean, would you like the board members to ask questions first or Mr. Curtis to ask questions first?
I would like to have Mr. Curtis ask questions first, but I also wanted to just say that I understand that this particular petitioner called in, but we do ask that if at all possible, that the petitioners appear on video, especially during our questioning portion. It's very helpful.
Thank you, Dr. McLean.
Your Honor, what is the court's? We all are. I have an office in San Francisco. We're all at my home right now, and I have a computer at home, and we look kind of grungy. If you will judge inwardly and outwardly toward instead of looking outwardly, I will. If it pleases the court, I will be happy to hit the buttons and get us into Zoom.
Well, that is my understanding is that Dr. McLean and the board would appreciate it if you could appear by video. So if you would like to take a moment and make that happen, that would be great.
Fair enough. Sure.
And I think I will keep us on the record for this, Mr. Patterson, just because I don't think it will take very long.
Okay.
If if my understanding of the time this will take is incorrect, Mr. Hassan, could you let me know?
I apologize, Your Honor. What was that?
Do you believe that it will take you more than just a moment to log on to the computer to do WebEx?
It depends if I get lucky here. I'm looking for I have an email at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I don't see the link on that one.
Okay, let's go off the record then. I think this will take just a couple minutes. So
Okay, thank you.
we will.
What do I hit number? Thank you.
We'll let Mr. Patterson rest his hands.
Appreciate it, Your Honor.
Which one? Hold it. No, that's a minute. Alex, what are we at? Oh, well, there's Valerie. It should be here. I don't see it here. Here we go. Yeah. That's too hot. Accident. Have to install WebEx.
Oh, you don't have it installed on your computer, Mr. Hassan?
No, I don't. I use Zoom. Well, I'm gonna hit it. Preparing the meeting. Got some chairs. Hanging the whiteboards. Preparing the meeting. Setting up the room. I'm going to type in my name here.
Ms. Hassan, this is Robert Pulio, the board ZO. One of our staff members just emailed you the link again.
I think I'm going to do it. I've got to find another link. I think it's going to work. Let's see if it works. Thank you very much, though.
You're welcome.
If you got to the point, as a moderator, my apologies. If you got to the point where you were signing in, it sounds like you did have the correct link.
Then join events.
Yes.
Ms. Fisher, do you know if WebEx allows
Okay.
the user to do it through the browser rather than downloading?
Okay, I do believe
I see Judge Wall.
Okay, so right now we're having some audio feedback. So we can't have the audio on the phone and the computer going at once. We gotta do one or the other.
Yes, I've muted the phone line.
Okay.
So if they can get their computer correctly configured, they should be fine to continue in that manner. Let's see. Okay, so I do see Mr. Hassan as a
participant.
Attendee. I've promoted him to panelist. Let's see.
And he's muted. So if he can unmute the WebEx one.
I've sent a request.
Mr. Hassan, it appears that you are present and unmuted on WebEx. Is that correct?
Can you see me? I got my camera.
Say that one more time.
Yeah, are you able to visualize me?
I don't see
Here
a
we go,
video. It might just be me.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
Okay,
Yes,
here I am, and I don't have my thing that I lift on my computer with at the office. But anyway, here I am. Good morning, everyone. And this is Mr. Akbar is right next to me.
Good morning.
Okay. So, Mr. Akbar, I want to make sure I'm saying your name correctly because I've been saying it multiple times. So, is it Akbar or Ali Akbar?
It's Ali Akbar.
Okay, just checking. All right, Mr. Patterson, are we ready to go back on the record?
Yes, and may I just please remind everyone to talk slowly. The breaking up efforts to stay on top of it. Thank you.
Okay, and let us know, Mr. Patterson, if you need folks to repeat anything. Okay, so it is 10:01 a.m. We are back on the record after a brief break to address some technical challenges. So before we left, we were going to have Mr. Curtis ask questions of the petitioner. So Mr. Curtis, if you would proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Ali Akbar, are there any other criminal convictions that you're aware of other than the fraud conviction that we've previously discussed?
No, sir.
Are there any pending civil or criminal charges against you at this point in time?
No, sir.
What I couldn't glean from your packet is what are you currently doing for work these days? It looked like last time you'd gotten laid off because of COVID. So what are you currently doing?
Correct. I recently got a job 3 weeks ago as the assistant general manager of Habit Burger.
Okay. I want to take you back. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but going back to when your license was revoked and the criminal charges that were filed against you, since you've had time to reflect about why the circumstances happened, have you come to a conclusion as to why you allowed that to happen, as far as what the circumstances were that made you accept it or participate in it?
I just, I was just greedy, and I was just, you know, not the same person that I was. I mean, my thinking process wasn't the same as it is today.
Okay. Were there any other external factors going on? Were there family issues? Were there drugs or alcohol? Or do you think it was just you're young and it was just about the money?
I was just no alcohol, no drugs. Just young. It was about the money. I was just dumb.
Okay. Do you believe at the time that you were aware that your actions were wrong?
At the time, I probably did aware, but you know, again, my thinking wasn't the same. I mean, I just wasn't in the right state of mind, so I just drowned myself in whatever I was thinking of it and made those mistakes.
I know you've previously said that you should have called the police. So my question is, why, thinking back, having all this time to reflect, why do you believe it was that you didn't call the police when you became aware of what was going on?
I think it was fear. It was fear, and I was just young and stupid. I mean, it's just, what do? You're always thinking of what should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? And then you just, it's a flip of the coin, right? I mean, you just don't know what you're doing. And when you're in that state of mind and you're not healthy, I mean, thinking wise, it just, you make those regretful decisions.
Have you had time to reflect on how your actions back then caused harm, not only to the public, but also the chiropractic community, the profession at large?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's a beautiful profession. A lot of my, it's a lot of my good friends are chiropractors, and they're honest people that do honest living to help a lot of people. So I kind of tarnished it by doing what I did.
Has anyone asked about why your license, you no longer have a chiropractic license, and have you been open with people about the circumstances?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that was part of my
I'm not.
I can't hear.
There was a break in audio, and I did not hear what Mr. Ali Akbar stated as the response to that question.
I said yes, I did. I mean, that's part of your healing. You gotta admit what you did, and you can't hide behind any shadow. You gotta just face the facts.
Have you used your experiences at all as a tool to help others or to educate others as to the dangers that fraudulent activity entails?
All the time, because again, as a restaurant manager, like I worked for the Cheesecake Factory, $15 million restaurant. I worked for Buffalo Wild Wings, $5 million restaurant. There's a lot of cash going around. And, you know, and you're responsible for that cash as a manager. So you have to constantly lecture and coach and counsel that, hey, you know what? Your money's got to be on, you got to be good, make sure everything's here. And you got to make sure everything's on the straight and narrow. I mean, yeah, so you got to, some people you can teach, some people you can't, but you do the best that you can.
Aside from seeing, hang on one second. Are you currently attending any type of therapy at this point in time?
At this moment in time, no.
Okay. And aside from seeing Miss Jury, have you seen anybody else, any other counselors, or attended any other therapy?
No, I have not.
Obviously, one of the concerns is your ability to practice safely given the length of time that you've gone without a chiropractic license. I understand you've done a number of CLE classes, quite a few. Have any of those been in person, or the vast majority of those via video or remote training sessions?
All my hours of continuing education were all offered through Zoom. None of them were offered through live classes. So I had no, I mean, there was no other way to take those classes. All of those were through Zoom.
Have you sought out, I know things are still not back to whatever normal is these days, but have you tried to seek out or attend any in-person or hands-on training?
At this moment in time, no, because I work 10 hours a day, and you know, my father's 85. I try not to be too much around the public because my father does have COPD. He is he's unvaccinated. COPD, you know, kidney failure, asthma. So I'm kind of a little reluctant to go in person somewhere. I mean, I'm out in the public as you know, in the business already. So I just try to limit that as much as possible because I always have to go home and take care of my father at night times because I live with my dad now because he's just really ill. And I just don't want to roll the dice to take a chance.
Obviously, the advances in medicine are usually pretty swift and constant. Do you believe that the classes you've taken have sufficiently kept you abreast of updates in chiropractic care?
Oh, they've been incredible. I mean, a lot of those ethic classes and those
Slow
classes.
down, please.
I'm sorry?
Patterson, what was the last thing that you heard? Where do you need Mr. Ali Akbar to, what do you need him to repeat?
Let's see. Let me go down here. Sufficiently kept up at what? Oh gosh, let me page up.
Mr. Patterson, I can just ask him to start over.
That might be easier. Okay.
Mr. Ali Akbar, I know when we're talking back and forth, it seems like a normal conversation. And especially if you're new to this and you get nervous, people tend to talk faster. The court reporter can only type so fast, so try to make a conscious effort to slow your speaking down a little bit. I know it seems like a typical conversation, but keep in mind that the court reporter can only type so fast, okay?
Okay.
All right, so going back to my prior question about whether or not you feel the classes you've taken have sufficiently kept you abreast of updates in chiropractic care. Can you comment on that?
They have. I mean, again, I took classes from the ICAC. I took a lot of those. You know, Thumper Bloomquist is extremely knowledgeable with nutrition, therapy, and all the studies that he provides in the seminars, and all the different lecturers and the DACBNs that he brings in there, and also the DAC bars.
Okay, let's take a second. I think that Mr. Patterson didn't hear it, so we really do need you to slow down even more and take a conscious effort to slowly, loudly, and clearly state your testimony.
Okay. Start over.
And if you could spell out the acronyms, that would be helpful because they're hard to differentiate the letters you're saying.
Okay. So Dr. Bloomquist, Bloomquest, has an enormous amount of knowledge with many, many certificates. He's got nutrition, he's a chiropractic neurologist, orthopedic, I don't know, he's got so many. So his seminars are extremely useful and filled with knowledge, and including the guests that he has that come in and talk about ethics and radiology also. I mean, I think we had not the names, there was two young ladies that were DACBNs that came in and talked on Saturdays. The seminars on Saturdays for radiology. And then in that class that I took with Dr. Adams, where he included neurology, nutrition, and all his statistics when he gave the Zoom class, when I took it through the organization that he was lecturing. So there was an enormous amount of information that that was very useful, that brought me back and helped me out a lot.
Out of the numerous classes you've taken, is there one or two that stick out to you as being most insightful or most helpful to you?
Well, I mean, you grab a little bit from everyone that you can. I can't pick one over the other. I mean, they're lectures, right? They're all information and they're all useful. I can't pick which one's my favorite useful information. To me, they all have a certain amount of information that you just absorb and you hold on to. So there's not really one that I mean, I remember Dr. Adams was very well. I mean, that was it was a lot of information and a lot of neurology, which I like a lot. But I mean, I can't pick specific seminars because information is good information.
It's been some period of time since you had a chiropractic license. Why, at this point, what is the reason that you're continuing to attempt to have your license reinstated?
Well, it's my passion. I mean, I was in university for a long time. I mean, I had 8 years prior to going to chiropractic college, and I had I believe I'm a good chiropractor, and I helped when I went to Mexico. It brought back all the joy, and it reminded me why I went to school.
I don't hear anything.
I didn't have a break in audio, Mr. Patterson. What was the last thing you heard? Because it might be an issue on your end.
I'm a good chiropractor. I'm a good chiropractor. In Mexico, and brought.
Okay.
And then I have a dash.
Mr. Ali Akbar, if you could go back and repeat your response for
Yes, ma'am.
what you remember saying after, I believe I was a good chiropractor.
So I went, that's, when I went to Mexico and volunteering my services down there, it was very humbling, and it brought back a lot of emotion and a lot of feeling as to why I originally started the profession.
So I want to ask you about your volunteer work in Mexico at the Hospital del Prado. How did you find out about that particular opportunity to go down there and practice chiropractic work?
Dr. Thibodeau from, I don't know how to spell it. I think it's Thiebedu. I'm not sure. In one of his lectures through the ICAC was stating that, there's a lot of chiropractors that go down there and they volunteer. So I asked him specifically if he has any information where he could pass that on to me. And he said he was going to check into it. And what I did my own investigation to see who's going and who's not going. And I asked around, and there was a medical doctor I found that knew somebody in Mexico, Dr. Dr. Tagley. So I
Dr. who?
asked him, Dr.
Taggy?
Tagley.
Mark, it's Tagle.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I got in touch with Dr. Tagley, and he was very welcoming. So I thought, what a great way to not only see if I can, to get my skills back, but to see how much skills, I still have.
So
And
Dr. Tagley, from what I can tell, is not a chiropractor, correct?
no, sir, he's a surgeon.
Is there a chiropractor there overseeing any of your work or offering, any guidance to you while you're working down there?
No, sir.
And is this something you're doing for pay, or is this strictly on a volunteer basis for free?
Strictly voluntary. There's been no form of payment whatsoever.
And I know the letter says that you work on Fridays and Saturdays. How often are you actually going down there?
Well, I was living in Southern California at the time, but I'm no longer down there. So I stopped working in June, I believe. And the house that I was living in, my brother sold that house. So I didn't have residency in Southern California anymore. So I had to come back and helping my dad. So I stayed with my dad to help him out. And when I moved to Northern California, I just couldn't drive down there to help to continue with that.
Okay. And I guess my question is, at the time, I guess the letter was written, you were living in Westlake Village, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's about 175 miles to Tijuana, which, with Southern California traffic is 3 hours minimum. And that's probably on a really, really, really good day. So were you going down every weekend?
Yes, sir. I try to go down as much as possible. I mean, I tried to go down every weekend. I mean, some weekends I missed. I mean, because again, I was a volunteer. I would let them know if I couldn't make it. And there's some weekends I couldn't make, but majority of the time, I mean, I was able to make those visits and offer my volunteer services.
And if you were to have your chiropractic license reinstated in any capacity, what would be your long-term goal for practicing as a chiropractor?
Well, my long-term goal would be to continue to help. Again, going down to Mexico was very humbling. I mean, seeing all the people that needed help was very humbling. So it would be to continue that effort to try to help as many people as you can. And I always had a saying on my card that said, we provide service regardless of capability to pay. So I would continue that effort and just help out as many people as you can. Just continue.
If the board were to consider giving you back your license on a probationary period, are there any conditions of probation that you would not accept?
I was guilty of getting myself into this mess, so I would accept any type of probation that the board would recommend.
Okay. And if the licensure exam or law exam were ordered, is that something you'd be willing to retake?
Yes, sir.
And if there were orders about having a billing practice monitor or auditing of billing records, is that something you would comply with?
I would, yeah, that would be perfect.
Were you able to look at what the regulations that outline what the rehabilitation criteria are for chiropractic?
I looked at it, but I mean, again, my understanding, when I looked within myself to see to define, I mean, was I a drug user? No. Was I an alcoholic? No, because I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any of that stuff. So I looked within myself and I interpreted it as, I just needed to admit to myself what my faults were and get the help that I needed.
Mr. Ali Akbar, I think those are all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. So I would like to check with Dr. McLean right now. I typically, when I hold hearings, like to do breaks about every 90 minutes. And I wonder if this would be a good point to take one, or if the board would like to ask its questions first.
If it would please you, Your Honor, I think that we'd like to ask our questions and then take a break after this petitioner, so between each petitioner.
That sounds good. Okay. So I will start with you, Dr. McLean. Do you have any questions for the petitioner?
I just have a few. Good morning. I would like to ask you, sir, do you understand, or let me rephrase that. What does having a revoked or license mean to you?
Well, it's the punishment that you receive for your failure to comply with the law and the oath that you took. I mean, I took an oath and I broke that.
So does that, I'm sorry. So does that mean that you can or cannot practice chiropractic?
Well, when it was revoked, it means I cannot.
And currently, do you have a license?
No.
So in essence, when you are practicing chiropractic in Mexico, you're practicing without a license.
Correct, but I followed the rules and regulations of Mexico because I went to the doctors and I stated that. And so they're the ones that took me under their wing and worked under their business license. And so because according to them, when I went to Mexico and followed their rules and regulations, everything was okay. And it wasn't a problem not having my license because they were well aware.
So it's your statement, your testimony here today, that it is okay for you to practice as long as it's not in California, or what?
My statement is that I'm not allowed to work anywhere that will not allow me to work. It was definitely the United States. But I will follow the rules and regulations of the countries that when I tell them I'm not licensed and what the procedures are, what can I do? I mean, I will follow the rules and regulations now.
And so you informed them that you were not a licensed chiropractor?
Correct.
I have another question regarding, you mentioned in 2011 through 13, you worked at Wellness Park Physical Therapy. What was your duties there?
I was just an assistant in the front desk. I was not, there was no patient, interaction at all other than being the front desk.
And if your license were reinstated today, what is your plan to begin practicing again? Do you have a plan? Do you have a location? What is your plan?
I do not have a location. I would like to follow the rules and regulations of the board in regards to the probationary status if they place me on one. And it's a lot of coaching and counseling. I mean, I'm all open to that. I'm open to see, again, more education and submission under the proctor to see what is and what is not, and how well I am not, and what I can do and what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. So there's a lot of, I guess that could be also a little rehabilitatory, where, when you're under the proctor exam, to be subjugated to those to that environment and just be coached. Anybody can be coached. I mean, Tom Brady still has a coach as a football player. So at any level, you could use some help and make yourself a better person.
Thanks. And last question. You mentioned that all of your continuing ed classes, recent classes, have been via Zoom. Have you done any continuing ed prior to COVID, prior to 2020? Had you done any in-person continuing education? Because your license was revoked back in 2008. And since between 2008 and 2020, did you complete any continuing education?
I believe I may have completed like 20 hours. I think one was in 2015 and one was in 2008. But other than those two, I did not. Well, between 2008 and 2015, I was a mess. It was not, I just didn't know where I was. I mean, mentally, I just wasn't in a good place. But then, slowly, with all the rehabilitation and all that, I realized, okay, I do have a chance to get my license back. And so I did not do anything until after 2015, when I took the next seminars.
I'm sorry, I have one last question. You mentioned with all the rehabilitation, but in your answer to the questions that you stated on question number 4, that you have not taken any rehabilitation programs. So what rehabilitation are you talking about when you mention rehabilitation here?
I apologize. Maybe it was just semantics, but I was talking about the sessions with Ann Jury.
Okay, I have nothing further. Thank you, Mr. Ali Akbar.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. McLean. We now move on to Dr. Paris.
Hello, Mr. Ali Akbar.
Hello.
Let me get organized here just one brief second. A lot of the same questions that were already asked, so I don't want to repeat. So can you tell me again the efforts that you made to determine whether or not it was legal, appropriate for you to be practicing as a chiropractor, and what requirements you needed to meet, or if there was a licensing body, et cetera? Can you tell me again the efforts you made to determine that before you were working as a chiropractor in Mexico?
I went to the consulate of Mexico, and I informed them. I got all the information of what is required to be able to do that. And I also called chiropractors in Mexico. I forgot his name, and I got the information. Okay, so you're practicing Mexico. What do I need to do? Basically, it's a lot of letter writing and certified information, and going and getting a business license. And I explained that to the doctors, and the doctors over there, Dr. Tag said, we've done that for other people in the past. We're going to take care of all your paperwork. And so I just left it to the clinic to help me out. But I had to move back to Northern California, and I couldn't continue. So I had to leave, and I couldn't finish that process.
So my understanding is what you discovered was that you don't actually need an active license from any other jurisdiction, whether in Mexico or the United States. You simply need to apply for a business license to work as a chiropractor and see patients in Mexico.
According to the consulate, the Mexican consulate, and the medical doctors who were working over there, yes, that was the route that they were suggesting.
Okay. Thank you. And I have one other question. I see you have a letter submitted from Hospital del Prado.
Correct.
And it notes that you were volunteering on Fridays and Saturdays, and that they appreciated your service. I don't see in here that there's any identification, and I'm wondering if you notified them that your license was revoked in California.
I did tell Dr. Oh, I apologize. I did tell Dr. Tagley.
Dr. Tagley.
Correct. Because he was the chief guy of operations down there. I did tell Dr. Tagley, and I informed him that. And I informed him, I am going up for a hearing. There's a possibility, there may be a chance I may get my license back. And I don't know. I just have to wait that time.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Paris. We now move on to Ms. Cruz.
No questions.
Thank you, Ms. Cruz. Dr. Adams?
Yes, good morning. I have a couple questions. In your testimony, you stated that you received a medical procedure that helped you to be a better person. I'm curious what that medical procedure was.
I'm not sure if I stated that. I may have been semantics. I believe I was talking about the sessions with Ann Jury. It's the only it's not medical, but it was the psychotherapy that I received from Anjuri. But other than that medical, there was no medical procedure. I may have misstated, or I may have just got the semantics incorrect.
I'm referring to your testimony that you gave at your last petition.
I had a medical procedure?
That's what it stated in the record. I was just curious what that was. You don't recall what that medical procedure was?
I must have been misstated. I don't believe, no, I never had I didn't have any medical procedures.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Another question here. You testified previously that you were not aware of the scheme that was going on and that you were threatened with violence. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you stated also that your mistakes that you did in these fraudulent aspects were associated with greed and unethical behavior, which is accurate. I'm curious that if you were unaware of these co-conspirators and what they were doing, and then you became aware of it, when did the greed and when did that start to enter in, and how much longer after did you continue that behavior once you were aware that these co-conspirators were utilizing you? And kind of maybe give a little bit of insight about how that happened, how you were not aware of co-conspirators and then you became aware of it, and how long you continued to your behavior once you became aware of it.
You know, nobody likes to be threatened, and it's the fear, and that's where I had to, flipping a coin toss, and whether should I call the police, should I not call the police? That's where all that set in, and it didn't take too long. I wasn't, I became greedy for, I don't know how long it was, but then once I said, okay, fine, I'll work with you guys. It was only like maybe 3 months, I think, before I asked all of them to leave my office. But I just didn't want to live under fear anymore.
When you say leave your office, these are people that were working in your office at the time?
Yes, because my assistant at the time, it was her husband. I mean, she had a key to my office. So, and I had multiple offices. And when I wasn't there, I guess they would show up and do their billing and all that stuff.
So so you're saying that these people were doing these acts without your knowledge. When you became aware of it, you confronted them, they threatened you with violence, and that it was only another 3 months until you finally stopped it?
Correct, because I just didn't want to live under fear anymore. There's only, I just didn't want to deal with that anymore. After 3 months, I said, you know what? I don't care how much violence you want to put on me. I said, I just don't want to deal with you guys anymore. That's it. Do whatever you want to do. I'm going to go to the police if you hurt me or anything like that.
So prior to you becoming aware of this incident where these co-conspirators were running this fraudulent scheme, was there any unethical or greedy behavior prior to that?
Prior to that, no, but it was only during that, it was afterwards when I gave in and made the regretful decision.
Thank you. No further
Yes,
questions.
sir. Thanks.
Okay, we now move on to Dr. Daniels.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So I do have a few questions, maybe follow up from the previous. I as well wanted to know, on January 18th of 2018, you had said that you had a medical procedure that had made you better. And so that's what you had testified to, but you're saying there was no medical procedure. Is that correct?
In 2018? I've never had a medical procedure. I mean, last time I had a medical procedure was, wow, 9 years ago. I've never, it must have been misstated, or I don't understand. Yeah, I never had a medical procedure.
Okay. And then you also stated that your biggest mistake was not calling the police to report the scheme. And I would like to hear more on, do you still feel that is your biggest mistake? Was not calling the police, or?
Well, my biggest mistake was the fact that, I just didn't have the correct eyes. I just wasn't, I wasn't running things right. I should have been a better person. I should have been able to keep on top of my records. I should have looked at them more closely. I should have examined them, but I mean, I didn't. I'm guilty of that. I should have been on top of my practice. But unfortunately, you make those mistakes, and you got to pay the price. And I paid the price, and I'm accepting of that. That even though I didn't know, I am guilty because I just wasn't the person that I should have been. But now I know.
And I'm a little confused. I was hoping maybe you could clarify on the timing of the event. So you said that they were in your office, but you weren't aware of what was happening, but you also said that you were greedy, which to me implies that you were aware. So I was just wondering if you could qualify when you referred to being greedy, and also when you were aware of the fraudulent activity that was going on in your office.
Okay, so I was informed by a patient that these guys were manipulating the system. And then when I confronted them and I was threatened and I went along with it, that's when the greed said, okay, so I can deal with this. So that's where the greed came in. When I accepted, said, okay, you know what? It's not so bad. I can deal with this. They're not going to hurt me, and it seems to be okay. But then as time went on, I realized that, you know what? I don't want to do this. This is not the right way. It's not proper. And I think it was 3 months. Yeah, 3 months. And I asked them to leave my office.
Okay. Thank you. I just have a couple more questions. You had said that you recognized what your faults were, and I was hoping that you could clarify in your words, what do you feel your faults were, and do you feel like you have changed those? So I'd like to hear specifically what you feel your faults were.
Well, my faults were one, again, I was just too trusting. I didn't look at my records. I didn't audit my records. I wasn't paying attention to what my staff was doing. And so I had to, when things got out of hand, I just didn't see it. So I'm guilty of that. And I should have known better. And as a result of all that activity and everything that I went through and losing everything, and now having jobs in the restaurant industry where there's a lot of money transactions and a lot of coaching and counseling has to be done. It truly humbles you that, you got to coach these people. You went through this event, you know what it's like to go down that road. So you want to teach them, hey, this is not the way to be. Make sure your money's right, because there's a lot. I mean, in a $15 million restaurant, there's a lot of cash going on a daily basis. I mean, it's $5,000 an hour you're selling food. So you want to make sure that everyone is on the right path. There's no money skimming from the top. No, I'm a little bit missing here, a little bit missing there. It's constant coaching and counseling, because it's so easy just to slim from the top when so much money is coming in. And you're responsible for that. Even though they may be taking the money, it's under your watch. So you just have to make sure that everybody stays prime and perfect. I mean, you do the best that you can. I mean, you can teach some you can. What can you do?
Thank you. Just to piggyback on Dr. McLean's question, if you were to have your license reinstated, what's your first step? You know, how do you go about doing that? What is your, you said that you were passionate about the field, but I personally haven't really heard what your goal is and what your true passion is, and how, if you had your license back, what is your plan for practicing again?
That would be very slow. I mean, it's a step-by-step process. It would depend on, again, on the probationary status, having a mentor, having a proctor, and making sure that you know, you're on the right track, that everything's okay. That because a lot of the laws have changed. I mean, the billing rules have changed. The communication with the patients have changed. The electronic communications have changed. So everything. It's all those. Even though I've taken the seminars, I've read them, but once you put them in practice, it's a different story. So it will be very slow because you don't want to make a mistake and unfortunately pay the price for it. So it's really a lot of coaching and counseling. That's my dependency on the proctor, other chiropractors helping me, and making sure I have the right seminars, have the right tools, continue reading to make sure that everything's under proper status.
Okay, thank you. And just one last question. You had said that you realized it was your passion. And so I'm just curious, have you done any volunteer work recently in a chiropractor's office? Because there's many things that you could observe or do without a license. And I'm just curious if you were really passionate about that. If you haven't done that, why is that?
Honestly, I'm scared. I'm really scared to step into a chiropractic office, not knowing who is who. Again, I live with my dad, a lot of sick people coming in. I didn't want to be around that. But my main reason was I just don't know who is who. It's like I said earlier, it's a slow process. I don't want to be caught wrong place at the wrong time. I'm not into any of that stuff. I don't want to get, because, you don't want the past to come and haunt you. And unfortunately, if you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, what are you going to do? So I just stayed away. Mainly, that was my main reason. And the second was, again, because there's a lot of patients coming in, a lot of sick people coming in. I couldn't catch anything to give to my dad. So I had to make sure everything was safe.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then we move on to Mr. Sweet.
I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that concludes the petition hearing in this matter. The case is submitted and the record is closed. We are off the record in this matter, and we'll take a break before proceeding to the next petition. Okay, so Dr. McLean, how long would you like to take as a break?
Can we make it a quick break can we make it 5 minutes?
Let me check with Mr. Patterson. Does that work for you?
Could we do 10? I would like to get some spellings done and.
Sure.
Okay, we'll do 10. So it is 10:45 right now. We will come back at 10:55. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Please feel free to mute your audio and turn off your camera during break.